2011, the Center for Disease Control released an article titled Preparedness 101, Zombie Apocalypse. The very first sentence of this article began with, there are a lot of emergencies that we can prepare for. Take zombie apocalypse, for example. Yeah, zombie apocalypse. You might laugh at this at first, but you'll be happy that you read this. Why would the CDC be thinking about something as skeptical as zombies? Well, I'm going to explain it to you through zombology, which is the natural science and discipline of the study of zombies. So first, I'll start with neurotoxins, neurogenesis, and viruses and parasites. So the first research that I did was through neurotoxins. This is the least likely due to the fact that there must be a main source to cause a zombie outbreak, and he has to have villainous intentions. So there's a story on ABC Science of a man named Clarvis Nars. In 1962, he was declared dead and was buried. For 16 years, this man, right there, traveled around with just the faintest memory of his childhood and working in a field plantation. He was forced by one of his masters. To explain this, scientists did a lot of research. Dr. Wade Davis explained this through neurotoxins and leaving the voodoo part aside. So, what caused this was the tetrodotoxin from a Japanese blowfish, and the type of toad skin would cause a person to have an incredibly low heartbeat and drop in temperature, drop in pressure, deep coma, and maybe die. But if you quickly apply datura, which is the Jimson weed, then this dead person will awaken, and they'll become aggressive, very angry. They'll have psychotic delirium and hallucinations. So it's a zombie in some way. They come back from the dead. But the other way that I try to find zombies is through neurogenesis, which is basically the self-repair of dead brain cells. So this leads to a very controversial subject of reanimation, which is frowned upon, but it's like the real living dead theory, which creates zombies. They found that stem cell research could make a virtually unusable brain usable again. So, but there could be a problem with incorrect brain growth. If something happens to the frontal cortex, then it causes the person, that's what controls anger and rationality and stuff. If there's a problem, then things could get bad. And also, if the brain chemical is messed up, like serotonin, which could cause like an anger and appetite, which is also very zombie-like, because all zombies you would think are hungry and angry. So there's another story of Mike the Headless Chicken. The official website states, although most of his head was in a jar, most of his brainstem and one ear was left on his body. Since most of the chicken's reflex actions are controlled by the brainstem, Mike was able to remain quite healthy. So without most of his brain and most of his head, he became the chicken zombie. So finally, my last point of research was through viruses and brain parasites, which is most of what you see in movies and games that you might play today. So the first disease that I found was Toxoplasma gondii, which 95% of the humans in the world, or in some cultures, have already been infected with. But luckily we're immune to like the problems that it may cause. But unfortunately there is the immune incompetent, which have brain cysts, eye lesions, and fevers, and a bunch of other symptoms. But what this does to rats is even worse. It makes them fearless and crazy, because the parasite knows the only way to reproduce and continue its cycle is inside a cat's stomach. So it'll throw itself at a cat, just like a zombie might throw itself at you just to reproduce. So if this evolves anymore, this could become a problem for humans as well. And then the other side of this disease is that a Dr. Joanne Webster stated, actually, this madness is actually the toxoplasma making great big holes in the brain. So the same thing happens if it gets to the frontal cortex, which controls all the anger and stuff, or if it messes up serotonin, things can get bad again, and that's a big thing with all these parasites. And a book called Toxoplasma gondii explains it can affect virtually any cell in the body. So then maybe someday it could be transferred through saliva and blood. Zombies. So the next disease that I found is called Naegleria floweri, which is found in fresh waters, but thankfully there's only been 32 records of this in the US. But this can cause headaches, fever, nausea, stiff neck, loss of balance, seizures, hallucinations, and death. Very zombie-like, once again. But this is the closest next to Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, which is the human form of mad cow disease. This has a lot more side effects and is the most zombie-like disease found. It causes jerking, ataxia, visual and speech disturbance. If you think about zombies, they'll moan, they have a hard time doing things. Paralysis, being startled, memory loss, mood swings, and judgment. So that's pretty zombie-like. And finally, the last parasite could be a parasite that's a big problem is nanotechnology and viruses combined. If you think about it, you take technology and viruses and put them together, this could make a really bad zombie. And it sounds pretty science fiction, but there has been technology that there's nanobots that can replicate themselves and clone themselves. So they just want to continue life. And then on the other side, there's a story from MSNBC, which has bacteria which combines viruses, proteins, and nanobots, which make cell boards. The MSNBC has a part of their article called Bacteria Zombies, which describes the bacteria to survive for 2 days even when the protein has died. But it still reacts to things such as humidity for up to a couple months. And this is said by a chemical engineer from Nebraska University. So, just connecting zombies with these kind of nanotechnology that know that they need to survive and do whatever they need to, and they connect to viruses, that creates the worst kind of zombies. And it's very possible for that to happen. That's why it's still frowned upon. So, between neurotoxins, neurogenesis, and these zombie bots, whatever, it could be a very real threat. Even the CDC knows that it's not a matter of if, but when. So now you know that the possibilities, you can decide for yourself whether it's a threat to be prepared for, like an earthquake or any other disaster.